What's up, everyone? Welcome to Recalibrate the podcast, where we believe that telling stories matters, and listening to stories is one of the easiest ways to change the way you do or think about something, and one of the most fun ways. Today, I am here with my friend Ransom, Chef Raw, and I'm so excited for this episode. I met Ransom like almost 6 years ago now in a ceremonial space, and we've just kept in contact. I've gone to some of his offerings and really just kept up with him on the internet, and watching him glow up has just been a privilege and an honor. He does so many things that it was hard for us to not hard, but it was fun for us to think what avenue do we want to go down in this podcast? What do we want to talk about? He's deeply involved in men's work. He has his own Bro Dojo men's work group. He also does private chefing for retreats. He does a lot of work with Sacred Sons and chefing for their retreats. He does sensual nourishment, which you probably don't even know what that is, but we'll get into it a little bit. He's also working on a cookbook to put his knowledge and insight about cooking out into the world. And he's stepping into the role of being a chef coach and helping people meal plan and take their nourishment into their own hands for their families and their homes. So I'm really excited to share this information and to put Ransom in this position to tell us all how we can nourish ourselves better. And, we all got to eat. So I think everyone will be able to get something from this podcast. And you know how we do it around here. Before we get too deep into it, I always like to take a moment to just ground into the moment and to my body, for my own nerves, and just because we all could use some intentional deep breaths in our day. So if you're out there listening and you want to join us in 3 deep breaths together, we can ground into the space. After that, I'll say a quick prayer and then we'll get into it. So if you have the ability to shut your eyes, I'm going to shut my eyes, and we will breathe in through our nose and then out through our mouth, perhaps even with a relaxing sigh. So you can release your breath, and we'll breathe in together through our nose. And let it out. Breathe in again. And last one, we'll breathe in. And let it out. And just take this moment to light this candle, call upon the fire that connects all of us, and the fire with which we used to gather round to share our stories and our knowledge. Thank you to the fire and to this community of web of people that allows us to connect, and this technology that allows us to be together even when we're far apart and share our stories and our knowledge with one another. I thank you to all of our dead, all of the people who came before us and walked these paths that are still walking with us. Thank you for being with us and just helping guide mine and Ransom's words so that we can communicate our thoughts and ideas and perspectives clearly, so that everyone listening can just take away something from this podcast that can help them better nourish themselves, their families, their lives. Perhaps everyone can feel inspired, activated, alive. And just thank you to the food as well, the food that nourishes us and keeps us alive here on this planet, and all of the water it takes to grow the food, the animals that sacrifice their lives for us to eat, the dirt, the soil, the sun, the air, everything that just keeps this planet going. This earth is so abundant. And so we just want to thank the earth for all of her nourishment and abundance that she so willingly and eagerly provides to us. Thank you. Thank you, Mother Earth. Thank you, Ransom. And thank you, everyone listening. I just pray that this reaches who it needs to reach, and that everyone is blessed a little bit more by this podcast. Aho. Oh, Ransom. It's so good to connect with you, brother. How you doing?
What's up? Wow. I'm a little teary from that intro and that prayer. So beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Well, let's get started. How would you like to introduce yourself to the people of the world on the internet?
Well, I'm a man of many names. Radiant Ransom, Chef Ra. Yeah, checking in here from Boulder, Colorado, up here in North Boulder, where I'm grounding and creating home once again after 2 years nomadic on the road, living out the van, and yeah, a little bit of living in Oregon for a bit, and yeah, just been traversing the world and hearing the call to create some roots again and really just remember my roots, which is, yeah, it's been about 10 years in May that I have lived out here in Colorado. And
Wow.
so there's some deeper roots than I thought out here. I was like, oh wow, I don't have to use the GPS when I drive around. That's nice.
That is nice. I'm still getting there out here with that
Yeah, how long you been
GPS.
out here?
Only 4 years. Well, I guess it'll be 5 in April, so I'm getting there.
All right.
But yeah.
That's a baby tree right there.
Yeah, so you used to be on the van life, but now you're grounding, but you're still retreating. You travel and do retreats and cook food for dozens, hundreds, lots of people.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, definitely hundreds of people, if not thousands. I don't know, maybe not thousands, but 1,000 I think total. Yeah, definitely creating a home base is what I'm calling it, because yeah, I still love to travel. I still love to explore. And one of my mantras is that I love to get paid to travel and paid to play. And so that steers my ship in a big way.
Nice. So tell me more about this retreat chefing that you do. Like, where do you go? What do you do? How did you even, maybe let's back up. How did you get into doing this sort of work of being a retreat chef and nourishing people?
Yeah, well, started way, 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 way back when my mom wouldn't give me allowance for food to go out to eat. And she would say, hey, there's food in the fridge. You can help yourself. You can make something. And she probably knew that I was going to spend it on weed and alcohol. And so, smart for her. Thank you, Mom. And so me and my building mate, I grew up in New York City, so he lived on the first floor, I lived on the sixth floor. We would collab like Sunday morning brunches, and just like make like the best like breakfast sandwiches, and because he had his like the grocery store card, and then I had like whatever groceries we had in the fridge, and so we would just like collaborate and just make food. And yeah, that was, I think, like the start of it, as well as just having home cooked meals all the time with my family, and like actually sitting down and eating. And then when I would go visit my dad, we would go out to eat. So I had like that more curated experience, from like that home cooking to that curated. And then beyond that, like 60 plus person potlucks with family in the summers.
Wow.
And barbecues. And so just like, I could see an abundance of food. I knew what an abundance of food looked like. I knew how much food looked like subconsciously to feed 60 people. And yeah, I took a cooking course when I went to rehab in high school. I was in rehab for
I didn't know this about you.
For cannabis. Yeah, I went to rehab, and again, I thank my mom for that, even though at the time I wasn't. But it really taught me a lot about drugs, and a lot about, the dark path that they can take, and what addiction can do at a young age. And so I took this one cooking class there, and we went to the farmer's market, and I just remember this like really simple thing that always has stuck with me, which is first heating up the pan, let the pan heat up a little bit, then add the oil, let the oil heat up a bit. And then once, like if you can flip a little water and like it sizzles, that's when it's ready to put the veggies in. And there's an order of like when to put veggies in and like what cooks faster, what cooks slower, and depending on what flavor you're trying to get as well. And so that really stuck with me. And like I always was like, oh, I know this, like this little thing. And those little details for me, I think, is where a lot of my intentionality and love is felt in the food, because I'm like super caring about those details.
Yeah. So then it just kind of built from there.
Yeah, and it's definitely quite a journey, and I've been really reflecting on it recently, of just all the little pieces along the way that have led to it. Like in college, I took another cooking course, and I didn't think much of it, but I just remember being stoked every time I was in that class, like wearing this big chef hat, like just like having a great time, but really not thinking much of it, because I was in the restaurant industry for 12 years, but I never wanted to be a cook because they didn't get paid well, they worked more hours, and they were treated like fucking shit. Like,
totally.
just not treated well.
Right.
And I was like, that's not what I want. And continuing into my early 20s, I was cooking for myself because I would save money that way. And I really was instilled in that. Like people going out to eat, I'm like, oh, I'm going to cook for myself because I can spend a third or a fourth of the money that I would eating out. Eating out is so expensive. And it's a treat. It's a beautiful treat to get cared for in that way. And it's a luxury, and I think privilege, and also not a necessity. And I went to art school, so I had a BFA in printmaking at University of Connecticut. And so that, you know, I've always been creative and always make my own food. And then I started dating this woman, and our first date was like, we made sushi and painted together. It was epic. And like went to a hot tub and like it was such a beautiful, wholesome experience. And me and her ended up dating for a few years and living together, and she was always making a sauce, a dessert, an appetizer, just like so much. And at first I was like, that's really like a lot of stuff. Like it's a lot of work, because I was just like, yo, everything in one stir fry pot, boom, done.
You were like, I'm saving money and time.
Yeah, exactly. But then throughout dating her, it was just like, that was just what we were up to. And we were volunteering for this food bank called Joy's Kitchen, which if you're in Colorado, definitely check out Joy's Kitchen. It's a rescue food pantry, donation-based. They're somewhere in Lakewood. I'm not exactly sure.
Oh,
they
cool.
Just moved, but definitely recommend them. And you can volunteer with them. And so we were volunteering, and I would just get this box of food every week from volunteering, and it was new food all the time, and it was rescue food, so it was like had to be used right away. And sometimes we would have leftovers. Like I remember getting a whole box of habanero peppers. I'm like, what the heck are we gonna do with this? I was like, oh, I'm gonna make hot sauce. And so like just started to get really creative, and with all this abundance and connection with friends at that point, like a lot of just potlucks. Potlucks was like, hey, let's have a potluck. Like that was the vibe of hanging out with friends. And I remember this partner at the time, she one time fed a friend that she had over with my food, my rescued free food. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, that's my food. Like, you didn't even ask. And she was like, what? Like, we have so much food. Like, of course we're going to feed the friend that's coming over. And yeah, I realized like, wow, like this greedy lack mindset version of myself. And I remember around that time hearing this quote of like, the fastest way to enlightenment is to feed your neighbor. And that really stuck with me. And like from then on, it took some calibration, but now it's like pretty much anyone that comes into my space, I'm like, you hungry? You want food? Like, I'm just always like, you want food? You want hungry? And like, even going back to my family, like one thing I'll do is just like, now I cook a meal for everyone that like is around. And it's like 15, 20 people or whatever. I'm like, yeah. And plus I eat a little bit differently, and we'll get more into that. But yeah, it's really fun to share in that abundance and in that wealth. And so fast forward, me and her separating, and I realized I had taken a back seat in the kitchen, and I like went over to my friend's house. I was like, hey, can I come over and stay the night? I'm separated from my partner, and I'll cook you a meal, and cook them a meal. And they're like, oh my God, like, this is the best meal I've had in a long time. Like, what is this? And I'm like, what do you mean? This is just like what I eat. Like, this isn't that special. And it really was to them. And this woman was like, yeah, like, you can live here and I'll give you money. You go buy groceries, you cook for us, and you can live here for free. And I was like, dope. Like, sounds good. Yeah. And that was during COVID, which was like right after I had ended my job as art teacher in public school. And like, that wasn't, that pathway was ending. And I was like, all right, cool. Like, let's go for it. I think this is around the time that we met, actually. Yeah. I was living in that house. And yeah, and so I was starting to do like little meal prep here and there for friends. And then I remember having this really intense astrology reading. It was an evolutionary astrocartography reading with this dude named Ralph. He's still around. Recommend him if you want to get your life turned upside down. Because he was just like lighting me up. Like, he was like showing me everywhere where I could get triggered. And he's like, see how I know how I can trigger. Like, he was just like gas lighting me so intensely. And yeah, it was funny, and intense at the time. And so I was telling him how I wanted, like a lot of my challenges in life were around the kitchen and like housemate dynamics and me wanting to control the kitchen or whatever. And also like this love for cooking that I just loved cooking. And I told him I wanted to go do like a yoga teacher training or something, or like go to Costa Rica or Bali. And he was like, really? Like, you want to go teach yoga? I'm like, no, not really. He's like, well, like, why do you want to do this? And I was like, well, I want to be immersed. I want to be like in an experience, like around people, doing the thing, living together, communing together, like really, truly like community living. And to me, retreats like get snippets of that. And that was like, I was like, okay, how can I get to that? And so he said, well, every retreat needs a cook. And I was like, oh.
Ooh, I got goosebumps.
All right. And I was like, cool. Like, let's go. And so from that moment, I was like, all right, I'm a retreat chef. I just declared it. I was just like, this is what I'm doing. And next thing I knew, Bali was closed, and my dad wouldn't let me keep my car at his house for me to go to Costa Rica for 2 to 12 months. It was way too ambiguous for him. He was like, that's too much. And so I was like, dang, I guess I'm not traveling. And then I found someone who was like opening up a retreat center here in Colorado, up in Lyons. And I was like, all right, cool. And I like went over, cooked them a meal, and they were like, oh my God, this is great. I was like, you're in. And I was like, all right, boom.
Nice.
And it was that house that like a few of the housemates really activated me with like cooking for the first like mushroom medicine ceremony and like a cob workshop building greenhouse thing. And then from there, I was just sharing my journey on social media, and people that I knew were doing events or retreats or ceremonies, and were like, oh, I want you, and I want you. And it just has organically flowed since then.
Wow, that's amazing. And now that's how I see you online too. You're like Chef Raw, and you do these like the video where you did where you snap and then there's like 50 plates just full of food. I was like, dang, like how do you even cook for that many people? Like, I imagine you have help, or do you not?
Yes. Yeah. I definitely have help. I mean, for a retreat of like 15 people, I could do that on my own.
Right.
It's a lot of work. And it also depends on how elevated the experience is going to be. The most recent one that you saw, like, that was my first like luxury retreat. So I was doing the plating, and yeah, 32 plates. it was a feat and also so fun. I was like, I'm freaking painting right now. Like I am
Yeah.
painting. I'm back to like, this is like really my artist self was like coming online, because to step into the chefing thing also, I had to let go of like my painting
Mm,
and my printmaking self. That was like, I was doing a lot of like live painting at shows and face painting and all these different things, and yeah, just paintings. And then I was like, you know what, I'm letting that go, and I'm stepping into this art form, which is food. And so I
right.
really felt that lit up. But yeah, I definitely have support, and definitely wouldn't be able to do the volumes that I can do without support.
Yeah. My mom always said growing up, she loved to plate the food. And she always said, you eat with your eyes first. Like that's, you see it and that's how you get excited about what's on your plate is seeing it. So it's always fun for me too. I'm like, no, let me just make even for the kids, like I like to make the bowl and like make it look pretty so that then when they see it, they're excited to consume this food.
Yeah, I had that experience too when I have friends over for dinner. Like I'm like, can I make you your plate? And it's such a gift. And I
Yeah.
think like a previous version of me, or a lack mentality version of me, was like, oh, that's like extra work. But it's actually like, it's a gift to me. Like it's a further gift to me to then give that, and then to watch someone light up and be like, wow, and like how much they feel nourished and cared for just through that. And like also like I have a vision with what I'm creating when I plate it.
Yeah.
And people sometimes are like, oh, like I want to see, like if I'm not plating, they're like, oh, like I want to see what you do first before I make my plate, because I don't really know what to do on this buffet line.
Yeah.
And so that's another cool piece too. And I also want to, I think yes, seeing is definitely one of the first ways that we start to digest the food, and also smell. Like
Hmm.
smelling, I think, is actually before that. Like
Right.
even smelling the food, like when people come in from the kid, like, oh, it smells so good. Like that's the digestive system already starting to work, because
Yeah.
before they even see it.
Right. The plating is just fun, but yeah, the smell and there's always like jokes about I've seen jokes and I've heard this from other women too. They're like, "Oh, if your husband's about to come home from work, just start the onions and the garlic and no matter what, every time they come in they're like, "It smells so good in here." And it's always just like onions and garlic.
That's definitely true. I'm like, people are like, oh my god. I'm like, yep, onions and garlic. Yep. Yeah, that's a real one.
So what does a day look like for you when you're at a retreat and you're chefing for, however many people? Like, how do you handle it?
Well, it starts before the retreat starts. It
Mm,
starts with planning out the menu, and that is one of the hardest parts, like the hardest part. And for so long, I would procrastinate till like the last day or even the day of shopping, and it was gruesome work. And I have been able to create some menus that I'm able to just like edit and flow. And even this most recent event, I actually made a completely new menu, and it took me like almost 2 days of work, like computer work,
yeah.
and like from making the order list to calling the farms to like, because for me sourcing is super important, and I might not be able to source everything locally or everything from the farm depending on the season, but I know that there's a cattle farm or a local meat that I can support, and also that's going to support us, because those animals are eating the local grasses, the local bugs, and so especially for the people that are traveling to that location, if we're eating local foods, that's going to help us assimilate to the area as well and feel that connection to the earth there as well.
Wow. That's
And
so true. I hadn't even thought about the bugs and the grasses and the animal eating the local, environment. That's cool.
yeah, and so that's really where it starts, is that planning of the menu, and then then the shopping day is a big day, and I usually go to two to five different places. And with Sacred Sons, it's a super unique experience because the Brotherhood provides.
Mm.
And there's men that are on the ground local that let me borrow their car, or they come with me and they drive around with me for the whole experience. And we have a lot of fun. We have a lot of fun during it, and like get silly. And I always make sure to buy them lunch for helping out, and like make sure we go somewhere nice for lunch. One of my favorites is like an Ethiopian food. So we just eat with our hands, and it's just like a unique experience in that way. Yeah, and then getting to the site, unloading the truck or the car. Sometimes we're like loading up a sedan, and it's just packed to the brim of food.
I saw that on your story.
Like so packed, and like sometimes people tell me, they're like, "Oh my gosh, watching you Tetris these things is like part of the fun of all of this." And like it's funny because sometimes I have to rent like a U-Haul when I'm in certain places because there's no vehicle. And that is just like the easiest to load in versus like this like Tetris thing that happens. But the Tetris, it's just part of it at this point. And like I'm like shopping, pushing like 2 or 3 carts at Costco. And I'm like, how are we gonna fit this in the little car?
That's great.
Yeah.
This all applies to when you're explaining the situation, like it's really the same for meal prepping for a family or for your home as well. Like I feel the same, the same way about the meal planning part. Like I don't think I was just talking to the kids. They're like, what do you do? I'm like, I meal plan and I cook. And it's a lot of work to figure out like, okay, what are we going to eat on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? And then what ingredients do I need for breakfast, lunch, and dinner on all of those days? And then getting the list together. And then, like my phone notes are just like I have to write it all down so I can keep clear on like what I'm going to go get. And then same thing, I hit at least 2, sometimes 5 stores, because you got to go to the butcher, you got to go to Costco for some stuff. And then you can't get everything at Costco. So then you got to go to Natty G's and like, it's so much work just to
Natty G's.
It's so much work just to get to the cooking part, and that is often for me the most burdensome part of the whole experience. Like, but it's also beautiful and fun because you get to be creative, but it's a lot of work.
It's hard. I think my favorite place to shop is the farmer's market, though. If I can go to a farmer's market, that place feels regenerative to go to, even though it's going to be more expensive for some things. It's outside, people are smiling, there's music playing, like there's just a vibe there.
Yeah.
When I go to Costco, I need to freaking clear my energy after I go in that place. Like it is intense. The people whatever people are walking in there with, and also Costco's great, but also has a lot of garbage. A lot of even close to poison.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's like some serious Jedi and ninja skills that have to happen.
Right, and you got to be very like specific about what you're going for. Like I love their coconut water. They got some organic coconut water that's just coconut water. It's the best I've found. And their booch, I really like this booch. But like you can't get on side quests, and I just put my headphones on. I'm like,
yeah, that's a good way.
Yeah. But yeah, so the pre-work is one thing, and then how, like, do you spend all day at the retreat cooking? Do you get to participate in some of the activities, or?
Yeah, so it depends on the retreat. So I've done retreats where it's a closed container, which means like no one is allowed in to the workshops, and they just are wanting to be served, and that's it. And those are fine. Those are usually, all day cooking, because sometimes those are like 3 meals a day. Ideally, I like to do 2 full meals a day, and then have like fruit out in the morning, fruit, coffee, tea, and then like maybe do a little snack in the afternoon. Because 3 meals a day at a retreat can be too much. And it's a lot of work for me. Like cooking breakfast is the hardest part when I'm doing 3 meals 3 meals a day, because then it's basically just like 6 a.m. to 9 p.m. working.
Yeah.
Like it's a long time.
Right.
And I love working the Sacred Sons experiences because they want me to participate. They welcome me in participating. I've learned so much through their modalities, their teachings. And when I first started, I wasn't waking up to do their like rising rituals at like 7 or 6 to 8 p.m. or around that time. And most recently, I'm like, no, I'm waking up for that. Like, I'm rising and watch the sunrise with these men. We're going to sing in the day. We're going to really get it started with the activations. And I realized how much that actually supports me to like be a part of the container. And something that the reflection I get a lot from people is that like, they're like, oh wow, you actually join in on things. Like some chefs don't even have time for that, or like it's just not like they're not interested. And for me, I'm like, especially in the beginning, I was like, I want to be at every single session that I can be. Now that I've done it enough, I'm like, cool, I know which ones I want to go to. And sometimes like I just need a nap, or like I'm at this beautiful retreat center, I'm gonna go use their sauna or hot tub, or like be alone in these facilities, and that's cool too.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love participating in it, and I think that's what sets me apart from other chefs, is that I know the work. I've done the work. I've been in these spaces. I've participated as just a participant in these retreat transformational trainings spaces.
Yeah. So do you have the freedom to choose how you're going to nourish the people, and do you have to accommodate like different dietary restrictions, or how does that work?
Yeah. I first started out as a vegan chef back when I was trying to be vegan. And I would just do vegan, gluten-free, and I pretty much didn't have to worry about allergy stuff or dietary things. Now I love consuming animal products and care a lot about how and where they're sourced. That's like the most important part for me. And so I still do mostly gluten-free unless it's sourdough, because sourdough is a lot of the exception that people will make. And maybe I'll do one meal that's like a burrito wrap, and then people just have like a burrito bowl instead. And yeah, I don't cook pork, because that's one thing that people don't really eat. That'll be on the list. Like I always ask for like a allergy list or whatever. Like it's imperative for my work to know. And then sometimes there's pescatarians or vegetarians, and most of my meals, like I can do an easy sub of like tofu or tempeh or a piece of fish along with what else I'm making.
Nice.
And I make things in so separately that like, and it's buffet style, so people can really choose. And usually the vegans and vegetarians are super stoked with like that consideration and care as well.
Yeah. Great. So it's not always that you're plating every meal. Like that was just a more, like you said, a high ticket, or you didn't say high ticket. I don't remember
luxury,
what.
Yeah.
Luxury.
Well, it's definitely high ticket luxury experience. But yeah, I mean, that is VIP treatment to get a plated meal. And if it was any more than 32 people, well, first of all, that table that I was plating on wouldn't have fit it. And so, yeah, and I'm usually doing 60 to 100 people for these events.
Oh, wow.
And so the food is going to get way too cold at that point. There's not even space for that type of thing.
Right.
So, yeah, around like 30 is kind of the max for plating. And it also depends on the kitchen. I mean, that kitchen was super nice, and so I had the space for it. But probably 20 would be like most retreat places max for plating. And so I usually just have a buffet line of everything. A lot of my food is very deconstructed, so people can choose what they want, and then by the end of it, they have a whole plate of a beautiful buffet.
That's awesome. So you've probably learned so much about like cooking and plating and planning and all of these things that really has equipped you to like make this transition into writing a cookbook and like getting into helping, families figure out how they can better nourish their family and plan for their home.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one thing I've been dialing in a lot is like the poundage of food, like per meal, like what that takes. And it definitely differs between men and women typically. I mean, women definitely eat as well, but like on a men's weekend, these men eat a lot of food. And so sometimes when I go back to like cooking, just either like, because I've cooked for some women's retreats and then also, or like a co-ed event, I'm like, oh, I actually can dial back a little bit. Because yeah, these bros be hungry. And the, yeah, the poundage per food is kind of this gauge that I've got. Like about a third a pound of meat is a serving. And
Mm,
also about a third of a pound of like a vegetable starch, like a potato. And so like these little things really help me when I'm calculating. And I would always rather have a little bit extra than not enough.
right.
And I can, it's, yeah, it's been an intuitive thing. A lot of my cooking is intuitive. And uh, even though I plan out these menus, there's certain variables or like audibles that can happen. Like, ooh, like I get to the store and this vegetable looks terrible, or it's not organic, or they don't have it because it's not in season. So I'm like,
Hmm.
cool, what am I going to work with to sub with that? And so sometimes, like, game day decisions, and then even like right in that moment, I'm like, oh, actually, I'm feeling this for this meal. And so I always get a little extra something to be able to play and
Mm,
not be so rigid with like, this is what I'm making. It has to be this because I said it was going to be this.
right.
Versus like, cool, let's kind of play like that show Chopped. I really want to be on that show someday. And I think I cook like that sometimes too, where I'm like, all right, what do we got? All right, let's make it work because people have a lot more in their pantries than they think they do.
Totally.
And when I go to people's houses to like cook dinner or make a meal, I'm like, all right, let's see what you got. They're like, oh, I don't have anything. I'm like, you got this, you got this, a little bit of this. Like, let's clean this out. Like, let's keep it fresh.
Right. And that's a good, like, that's something I try to incorporate in our family too, is like trying to eliminate waste because we throw
Mm-hmm.
away so much food as Americans. And so it's like, same thing. Like we have a garden and I'm like, all right, I got to use this arugula. Like we have so much arugula and it's not going to just go on breakfast tacos. Like I got to make a pesto. And then I'm like, okay, I can make a pesto pasta with chicken. Ooh, that's going to be good, And then you kind of do that. And then I make enough and I'm like, all right, well, there's extra. So now we're eating this again. So it's like finding a balance of wanting to have enough and like extra so people can eat and feel free to eat until they're, satisfied, but also not like cooking so much that then you're just throwing it away.
Yeah. And I had to learn the hard way with that. There was definitely some retreats that I was throwing food away, and luckily a lot of them were like they had composting. So I was like, all
Mm,
right, this is my gift back to the earth. Like, bless it. And nowadays, my waste is super minimal. And I used to
yeah.
also like save all the leftovers till the last meal and call it like leftover burritos. And it would just be like two huge tables of all this random stuff together. And some people are like, oh my gosh, yes, I get to try this again, or yes, or whatever. But it was just so much that I was like, actually, this is not like I thought that this was the way to use all the food. And I'd actually rather like, so what I do is if I have a leftover, I'm immediately like, how do I incorporate into the next meal? Like I
Yeah.
did chicken wings when I did this chicken and waffles breakfast, which was so good. And the next day, I was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna serve sausage, but I actually don't need to make as much sausage because, boom, I got like two chicken wings per plate now. And
Yeah.
so, just really staying current with like, okay, what can I use right away? Because something I actually recently learned is, well, first of all, a lot of cultures don't do leftovers.
Really?
Yeah, they just eat. They make enough for what that meal is, and I can taste it. Like at first, I was just always yes, leftovers, yes, leftovers. Like give me that. Like no food waste. I'll eat it, even if it's like basically bad. And I realized like I'm not a garbage disposal. Like I actually want to treat myself better.
Yeah.
And I know it comes from this place of really caring about the food and caring about not creating food waste. And something that I'm learning on the scientific level is that there's histamines in food.
Mm,
And histamines create like allergic reaction type of thing. It's very subtle, but it's still felt. And so leftover food creates histamines as it goes.
right.
And so the faster to use leftover food, the better. And I never knew that before. I was always just like, yeah, like leftover food is good for a week. and now I taste the difference. I notice the
Mm,
difference. And I even like I'll own up that I judged people that didn't like leftovers. I'm like, what do you mean? Leftovers are great. And I now understand like there's a little bit of a animalistic protection that happens
that
within
makes
that.
sense. Yeah, I
So,
definitely
and
be
some foods
doing
are more than others, of course.
right. I be doing leftovers, but I do try to do it like the next day. Like sometimes, if I make a big soup, I'm like, all right, like this is what we're having for dinner 2 nights, because we got like basketball games on until 7 p.m. on Tuesday, and I know that, so I just make soup and then we'll eat it twice, and that's like kind of the system, which is probably a little different than like I don't force myself to eat that soup like a week later or like 8 times in a row where you're just like don't even want to like you're just so sick of it at that point. So there's a balance, right? And like finding that sweet spot where you can cook enough for your family for 1 or 2 meals, whatever your goal is like a delicate balance. But that histamine point is something I actually didn't know. So thanks for that.
Yeah, you're welcome. Definitely recommend looking into that more.
Yeah. So yeah, so what like if you're a family and you're listening or you're a mom listening to this podcast or a dad, whoever is doing the cooking and the meal prepping, like do you have any like just like let's say someone's just getting started, like they don't know how to cook for themselves, because I know a lot of families that are go 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 and they just eat out, they eat Chick-fil-A, they eat whatever on the go. So like what advice do you have, because it could seem daunting to get into cooking all these foods, like what advice do you have for maybe a family or a new family just getting into wanting to cook more and nourish at home more? Like do you have any practical steps or like advice on how that can seem more manageable?
Yeah. Um, Go slow. Trust yourself. Be okay making mistakes. And I think that's a big thing is learning in the kitchen and making a fluke and being like, this tastes terrible. I remember when
We've
I
all
put
done that.
like, I think it was a tablespoon of salt in the cookies, not a teaspoon when I was growing up. I learned that day. And for me, I learned through a lot of mistakes. I learned through messing up. And then, yeah, let's say we got a family of 5. Easy meal that I would recommend making. Get 2 pounds of ground beef, grass fed. Get 1 or 2 butternut squashes, 2 cups of rice. Boom, there's a meal right there. And literally take out the ground beef. You don't even have to do anything with it. From the packet, put it on that hot, sizzling oil pan. Put them both on there and just press it out flat. Let that cook until it starts to get brown on the bottom. And then cut it with your spatula just right. This is like an easy, like, like all these like girl dinner type things. This is like my
Yeah.
girl dinner. And let that cook, flip it, salt it, season it. Boom, meat's done. 2 cups of rice. Make sure you wash the rice. Super important to wash rice. Wash your rice. Even if you can soak it a little bit, that's good too.
Yeah.
Cook that rice. I like to measure with my finger to put the water. Basically, if you put your finger down, you touch like where does the water go? and then touch from the top of the rice, and that's like where there should be the like basically where the rice goes to this part of your finger, and then putting it in there to the top. That's
To
how you
like the
measure.
line on your finger?
No, to where your thumb is.
Oh, where
Like
your thumb meets. Okay, where your
like
thumb meets
wherever
your
you're
finger.
like let's say like there's rice in the pot and
Uh-huh.
there's already some water. I put my finger down, I stop my thumb where it is. So let's say that's where the rice goes till. Now
Gotcha.
on the top of the rice, that's how much water I want to have above it.
Mm.
So I don't even measure it anymore.
Yeah.
And I make rice a lot, so that's but that's an easy one. That's an easy one. Get it boiling, put some butter and salt in there, or coconut oil and salt. Get it boiling. Once it boils for a moment, turn it down to low, simmer, top on, and then you can just throw in the butternut squash on a baking tray right into the oven at 400 degrees for 35 minutes. Boom, done. You don't have to cut it up. You can
And
cut
then
it up after.
oh, you don't even like cut it in half?
No, I mean you can. I'll cut it up because it cooks a little faster. But if you really don't have the time, like just get it in the oven, like with a lot of like big root veggies or squash. You can just throw them in whole, and they'll cook in there. And sometimes that's like, especially if I'm making butternut squash soup, I'll just roast it on like 425 for 45 minutes to an hour, and then it'll be just like buttery, and then I can just
Ooh.
I have to take out the seeds and everything, take out the seeds, and then put it in. But that's like a nice hack. Or even like a sweet potato, you can just throw it in whole, and
Wow.
it's just cooking itself in there.
Yeah.
So little ways to just make it easier to
Yeah.
cook. And it's fun to make. Like for me, I love making a fancy, you know, chicken and waffles and whipped cream and berries and squash, like with a sauce, like meal. That's great. And when I'm cooking for myself, when it's just me, I cook super simple.
Yeah.
Super simple.
Yeah, and you get better at it the more that you do it. Like when I first met Jake, my mom always jokes that like I couldn't even hardly fry an egg. And I was like not did not know my way around the kitchen, didn't know what I was doing. And then just by necessity of like, well, and I wanted to. Like I wanted to be able to nourish the family and contribute in that way. So I just found recipes and just followed them. And then after following recipes for a while, then I started to learn like, okay, I can just make a soup based on what I think will taste good. I don't need to like look at a recipe for a chicken soup. I could just, throw what I've got in. Like, oh, I've got some celery, I've got some broccoli that I used on this other meal. Like I can throw that into a soup, maybe throw some rice in or whatever. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you get and you learn. But it's okay to start with a recipe, like that's a good way to
Totally.
learn because you're just following steps that someone writes down. You just got to get past the whole beginning part where they tell you about their great grandma and everything.
I know who reads this. That's why I'm like, why am I gonna write a cookbook when no one even reads this intro?
Well, I think in a cookbook it's a little bit different. And you don't have like you're not like, you didn't go to culinary school. You've taken some cooking classes and stuff, but a lot of it has been intuitive. So I would imagine your cookbook will be a little bit different than what you see out there. Like, are you going to put things like that, like the measuring the rice that way and stuff in your cookbook? So it's like
Yeah,
raw style.
and I've learned from a lot of chefs, like because I've cooked retreats with other chefs
Mm,
and been helpers to them, and so that I'm just like a sponge. I'm just soaking up, like, okay, this is how they do that. That's how they do that type of thing, and then making it my own.
yeah.
Someone said to me this last retreat, they're like, "Hey, do you make your own recipes?" And I was like, "No, I make the recipes my own."
I like that.
And
I
And
like that.
that takes practice, because it's important, like you said, to follow the recipe, to kind of understand the building blocks. And then from there, like, there's stuff that I don't even taste and I put out, because I know, I can tell by the way it looks, I can tell by the way it smells, because I've done it enough times. And
Right.
there's some trust that happens within the self too. Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'm to just like make things on the fly like that. But yeah, I think I'll have more, yeah, like kind of intuitive creation things in the cookbook.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know if my recipes are gonna have amounts, actually.
Really?
Like, I kind of, yeah, I mean, I kind of don't want to. I want to be like, hey, this is playtime. This is more than just like, I need to do a thing, I need to do a thing. Like, it's like, this is like, create a night for yourself, create an experience for you and your friends, that you're experimenting and tasting it, and like, what does this taste like? And like, oh, I think if it tastes like this, then I need more of this. Like, learning that, like, when I make my sauces, I don't have really a recipe for that. I just know what it tastes like. And
Yeah.
I know what I need to add more or less of when I'm doing it. And I've been pretty hard on myself, like, oh, I'm, not good enough, or I'm not like doing it right because I'm doing it that way. But I'm actually like, no, that's part of my creativity and like the fun that I get to have with it.
Yeah. I kind of like that because truthfully, like most recipes are like 3 carrots and 3 stalks of celery. And I'm like, that's not enough. Like, I'll put in, we're doing six
And
carrots.
what carrot are they talking about? Like a baby carrot, a farmer's market carrot, like a GMO carrot? Like, that's the other thing, is that like with these recipes, like, because I use recipes when I'm making something new, and
Yeah.
like I said, I make it my own. I'm like, cool. You think that? Cool. I actually like a lot more of this.
Right. Yeah, I just made a recipe for a woman. I nourished a postpartum woman who I didn't know. It was a friend of a friend. And I was looking at the recipe and making my list, and I forgot kale. And I was like, oh man. And I got home and I was like, oh dude, I don't have kale. And I was like, but I have this homegrown spinach. And that's better because we grew it in our garden. Like, I'm going to put that in there. And so I put the spinach in, and then I shared the recipe on my Instagram so other people could make it if they wanted. And I put like, I used homegrown spinach instead of kale. And she responded and was like, wow, your kitchen witchin is really on point, because I actually have a thyroid issue and I can eat kale, but my body doesn't digest it as well as spinach. So I was like, yes, like just because I
Wow.
forgot it and followed my own intuition and had the spinach and used what I had, it ended up being better. So it doesn't need to be so strict, like use kale because it says kale. Like, maybe even in your cookbook, you could have like optional add-ins or like substitutes, like so people can kind of get their juices going, like, or you could have like a definite ingredient list, like you definitely need chicken bone broth, but like these are optional veggies you could include, like depending on what you have in your fridge and what's in season and what you like. It's like
Yeah.
a cook with you recipe, like yeah, I don't know, but more fun and collaborative and intuitive.
Mm. Yeah, that collaborative piece is important to me.
Yeah.
That's so much of my connection with friends and hanging out is like, hey, you want to cook a meal together? Like, want to hang out, make a meal? Like, what you got? All right,
Yeah.
cool. I got this. Cool. What are we gonna do?
Yeah.
Or someone that's like, oh, I've been wanting to try this. I'm like, cool, because sometimes when it's just me, I don't actually feel as inspired to make something like that lavish. So
Totally.
it's like, yeah, and so it's fun to have to cook for other people or cook with other people, because it inspires me. Like, something
Yeah.
about being in service, giving to others, showing up in that way is inspiration.
Yeah. That's great. Well, I'm looking forward to this cookbook and how it's going to be raw style rather than just what every other cookbook has with very specific things. Like I really like the idea of just having it be more intuitive. I think that's great. So I think we've talked on a lot of things, but one thing I just kind of want to like dip our toes into is you've mentioned sensual nourishment. And I know this is something I've seen you talk about and I've been intrigued with. And maybe you could just tell the people like, what is sensual nourishment and what is it and why does it light you up?
Well, a theme that I'm noticing as we talk, which I learn a lot about myself through conversation and through like hearing myself and connecting. So grateful for you, grateful for this. And yeah, I'm hearing a lot of play. Like play is the way with the food. And yeah, sensual nourishment is a 4-course sensory eating experience. And it's more of an advanced space. I am curious to make it more accessible for different people. Like, I'm like, okay, what's the version of this that I could have invited my grandma to? That grandma would be fed and nourished in this way that's, just a little more PG rated. Because as of now, sensual nourishment is PG-13 to R rated. So, kids, if you're listening, turn this off. Basically, I guide people through this 4-course experience where the first course is about connecting with self, connecting with food through the self. And the second course is then about connecting with food being witnessed. So I like to have people, I make these raw butter cups, which is my version of a peanut butter cup. And basically people are witnessed taking their first bite in the circle. And really like being embodied with it. And it can be uncomfortable for people to be witnessed, let alone eating food and being messy with chocolate. And so, there's opportunity there to be seen in receiving pleasure and sensation. And then the third course is a blindfolding partner feeding experience. There's a lot of sauces and it can get saucy. And so part of the inspiration of this thing was I was dating this woman and we forgot to eat the salad and we got back in the kitchen. I'm like, oh, we forgot the greens. And she grabbed the lettuce, shoved it in my mouth, and started making out with me. And I was just like, oh my God, this is so hot. Like, wow, this is amazing. Like, eating and making out it's a beautiful experience. And so that can happen in the space, but also can be really like sensually soft, where it's like maybe I'm gonna cradle someone and like slowly feed them. Or when I guided this at like this party that we had the other night, it was like people, like someone was laying in someone's lap and they were just like taking the strawberry and like painting it on their face, and just that like feeling of like the cold strawberry on the face and like pressing it up against the lips, like there's something deeply nourishing about that and that connection to the senses. And like there's like this is a space for exploration of sensation. And like I like to call it like pink tantra, which means like bottoms on temple. Like this is not about stimulating or creating arousal within the genitals. If that happens, it's not to be shamed, but it's about actually like where's more creativity when it comes to pleasuring. And I know that a lot of women have to teach their man like, hey, I don't just want penetration. Like I actually want so much more than that. And I definitely want so much more before that. And so this is about slowing down. Like, what does it feel like to like caress someone's hand and like go slowly in this way? And we just include food with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a great place for like partners to come with each other. Also, a lot of single people have come and then met people and connected in that way. And that's definitely edgy. I definitely see myself hosting this for like a group of friends that are already really close with each other, as a way of connecting, or as like just a couple's time, because
Yeah.
um, not everyone is like interested in polyamory, and that's okay. And yeah, so like that. And then the fourth course, which is the most edgy part, is where someone gets to become a plate.
Oh,
And they get to choose who they want to eat off of them in the room. And again, it's about the sensations, and also it gets silly. It's like in one of the experiences, someone was putting green beans in between someone's toe. Like just like so silly. Like it is such a, like, I think that so many of us, I know me, like playing with food is like taboo. It's
yeah.
super taboo. And so being able to do that in a silly way, in a fun way, in a pleasurable way, is super healing. And
Yeah.
some of the biggest, like, I think, wounds that humanity holds is around food and around like uh, sensual or sexual intimacy.
Yeah.
And so this is a way of reclaiming that in a safer space, in a consensual space, and in a truly like embodied space.
Yeah. Dude, that sounds fun. If you do a couples one, maybe I can force Jake to come along with me and play with our food. That sounds great.
Yeah, and I think that's more of what I'm realizing, that like it's fun to have where it's kind of more free for all, but I think the couples one is more accessible, because I'm like, how do I make this accessible for people
Yeah, like
to
I'm not gonna
enjoy?
come to one where like I'm doing it with strangers because I just don't see myself in that way. But like I think it could be fun even like eye gazing with your partner and taking that first bite and like having that like
Yeah,
just being maybe even seen by your partner could be vulnerable in a sense too, you know? And so then like opening up that intimacy between a couple could be a really beautiful experience. And then I'm sure there's like other couples around too, which kind of makes it like more fun and silly and connecting,
yeah,
like
exactly.
couples can connect with other couples. And do you
Yeah,
have
thanks for
any?
sharing that. I definitely am gonna put that in the works, and it's also something that I'm available for guiding a couple, just a couple with.
Yeah.
You know, like guiding them with like cooking for them, guiding them through the courses to connect with each other. Like, and I'm just there as like a space holder, witness, like allowing
Yeah.
it to be what it is.
What's like one piece of it that like if someone listening was like, "Ooh, that sounds fun. I want to do something like with that with my man tonight." Like what's one little like exercise or thing they could do like someone beginning could do today if they wanted to?
Yeah. Oh man, so many ideas. Fruit is a really nice, accessible one. And yeah, let's say you're with your beloved or your partner, I would, yeah, ask like, I would even hit them with the surprise, like, because I think that's what got me is like, and I think something for me as a man that likes to be with women, like a woman that keeps me on my toes and doesn't let me get like complacent and is continuously like, you know, helping me evolve, and like, you know, we help each other evolve, but
Right.
yeah, there's something there. And so I think something along the lines of like, you know, coming up behind your partner and like tell them to close their eyes and open their mouth and put a berry in their mouth or something, and like, and
And then
then
kiss
maybe
them.
kiss them on the neck or the cheek, and like, or like really like hold them slow, kiss their neck, ask them to open their mouth, and then put a piece of fruit or chocolate on their mouth. And they're
Okay.
just going to be like, whoa, like, oh my gosh, I'm aroused and I'm tasting amazingness in my mouth.
I like that. You could even do it with like, a piece of your dinner that you're cooking or something. Like if you guys are cooking together, you could like grab a piece of the chicken that you just cooked and like grab it, you know,
Yeah,
get,
just I think the biggest thing is it's about slowing down.
yeah.
Slowing down the pace, being more present, and either getting some really nice eye contact or having them close their eyes and just receiving, being in that receptive mode.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you did it with salad. So, or she did
I
it with
know, it was
salad.
amazing.
That's great. I love
Almond butter
that.
is a good one too, like something like dipping a piece of apple in almond butter. Yeah,
Nice. I like that. Well, that's great, Ransom. I feel like that's a good, teaser for people. And I for one, appreciate the like multifaceted nature of who you are. And like, I appreciate that, you can cook for all these people and plate food and do the buffet and also like help a family or a couple and do these, more sensual, fun, playful nourishment things. And I agree that really what you kind of were speaking to the whole time was play and intuition and slowing down and being present and just, doing your own thing and not taking anything too seriously.
yeah.
So, do you have any other like advice or any last closing remarks or um, like tips for people with food or nourishment? I one point we talked a lot about was sourcing food, which I really appreciate as well, and just wanted to like call to that again, like the really honoring the earth and the seasons and the finding high quality food and what an impact that makes on our nourishment as well. And
Yeah, that's a huge piece, and it's a huge piece for also taking care of our earth
mm-hmm,
because yeah, the soil is precious, and the earth is precious, and there's so much abundance on this earth, like we said in the prayer, and there's reciprocity to us.
mm-hmm,
And yes, higher quality food is more expensive, and it is also an investment. It's an investment to you, your family, your children, your grandchildren, those that will come walking on the earth beyond us. And when I say to our grandchildren, it's like, it's for the people that we haven't even birthed yet, because how we take care of our bodies is how we're going to reproduce, because we are giving ourselves to our lineage through our seeds and what we are eating and consuming, as well as how we're taking care of this earth is what kind of earth they're going to be birthed into. So it's
mm-hmm.
multifaceted, and it's more expensive to get healthcare solutions down the road than investing in your health now and being
Right.
able to be able-bodied as much as possible.
You're also
Yeah,
investing in
and
those farms that are doing the work to create sustainable food and taking that money away from the factory farms, which are depleting our earth and like harming our animals and also harming our bodies, like those farmers need our financial support in order to keep doing the work that they're doing.
yeah, and when someone goes to fast food and eats that more conventional, highly processed animal, that animal has been through a lot of pain and suffering. And I recommend, if there's one thing that you can take from this whole show, would be praying on your food and giving thanks to the food before you eat it. And so taking that a deep breath before taking that first bite, even if it's just one breath, just slowing down enough to just have this reverent moment that you're about to nourish, letting your body know, like, prayer and slowing down helps actually digest the food, because you're going to create a moment to actually smell it. You're going to create a moment to actually look at it. And those, like we talked about, are the beginning blocks of the digestive system. And so that's the biggest thing. And then you could take food that maybe wasn't as well sourced or wasn't as made with love, and you can pray back love into it, and actually restructure the food in that way.
Right. And I guess just making better choices when you're able, like even if you can start one time going to your local butcher rather than buying your meat at, Albertsons or whatever, Costco, and just trying it out. Like everyone's got to start somewhere, and it is expensive. It's an investment, like you said, but it's also cheaper than eating out still. Like it's still cheaper than eating out. So, maybe foregoing going out to eat, and because most restaurants, it's shit quality food, oils, meat, everything. And you're paying more than you would pay for the high quality meat. So like maybe we can all just challenge ourselves once in the next week after listening to this to explore a meat option close to us, a farm or something that we haven't supported before, and just do that once and see how it feels and see if maybe you notice a difference.
Yeah. And going slow, being gentle with the self. It's a big transition. It's taken me 7 years to be integrating a lot of what I've learned in this newer lifestyle.
Totally. Yeah, and there's no shame or judgment or, everyone's in a different part of their path, and we're just here to, offer a different way of thinking about things and show what's possible. But like you said, it's a journey, We've all eaten McDonald's or Taco Bell or whatever before in our lives, very likely, we've been there, so it's okay.
Yeah.
So, well, anything else that you feel that the people need to know, Ransom, or do you feel complete?
Super grateful to be here, to connect with you. It's been a beautiful time. And yeah, definitely stay tuned for the cookbook. My commitment is that by December 31st of 2026, it'll be published and out. And if you want to follow me on social, Radiant Ransom is my Instagram, or Chef Raw with 3 A's. It's my food page. And stay tuned. Feel free to message me, reach out.
Yeah, I'll put his contact info in the show notes so everyone can easily access you and reach out. Ransom's great. He's super knowledgeable, and I just really appreciate you taking the time. I learned some things in this podcast, which was great. So thank you. And thank you to everyone listening. I hope that you also feel fulfilled and inspired to go cook.
Let's cook.
Let's cook. Love you guys. Love you, Ransom.
Peace.
Still hazy, funk past J's, a face of blunt ashtrays and skate with punk kids. I still chase the sun, bad days, I'm lacing up half cabs and shake John spliffs. Whatever happened to rap, is your rest in peace to Mac, and I'm here to raise it from the dead. Cause drugs ain't cool, kid. Plug you with that new shit. Turn water to wine and break bread. And if I said this all the future, would you trust I told the truth? Or would you run away and tell my whole fan base? Cause sooner or later, kid, they'll take your human nature and they'll burn you at the stakes while the band plays. So, in the last words, better speak up now. I said, why do birds sing? What's a king without a crown? They all stood in silence while they listened to the sound of a madman reason with the demons he found. You can't lock up ideas, we don't even exist. I just live through the speakers and the beats that we kick. Is this forbidden fruit from the Garden of Eden? Is it freedom of speech or am I speaking for freedom?